corruption in boxing here. Just a very quick video. Demetrius Andrade's performance last night is evidence in my mind as to why Billy Joe Saunders was the victim of quite a convoluted conspiracy to relieve him of the WBO middleweight championship of the world, and thus Andrade, a DAZN fighter promoted by Eddie Hearn, would fight a totally green novice with no international experience, bizarrely ranked number 2 by the WBO. An unbelievably ridiculous fight to sanction, simply designed to put the belt on Andrade, who was horrible, flat-footed, ponderous, sloppy, pretty much running away from this guy, fearing his power. But that is Andrade. He's not made the transition between the amateur ranks and the professional ranks. He's the most overrated fighter in any of the 17 weight classes. Just a total load of garbage. Now, I've been a bit of a recluse. I've kept back because I've been disgusted by the sport, and I've seen all of the videos, I've seen the YouTubers, the unbelievable amount of stupidity regarding the Saunders positive test. Let me break it down for all you fucking retards. Saunders simply took ephedrine nasal drops. Victor Conte, who has absolutely no credibility in the sport, spent the best part of 2-3 decades engineering drugs, designing programs for Major League Baseball stars, and then subsequently becoming a paid snitch. Victor Conte has specialized in designing ways in which to elude the protocols of USADA, VADA, WADA, UCAD, as he's familiar with the prohibited lists to quite a degree. You've only got to look at the fighters who he's worked with in the past, and the fact that he was working for Demetrius Andrade, and that he financially sponsored the drug testing. Now, Massachusetts State doesn't have any drug testing whatsoever, so the sanctioning body would send an email to the fighters to advise them to organise their own drug testing. So there was a clause in the contract between Saunders and Andrade, but neither fighter could activate the clause. It was only Matchroom Boxing, the lead promoter, that could initiate the clause. So no doubt Victor Conte advised Eddie Hearn to do so. They did. Saunders, who was tested in the UK, where he was conducting all of his training, took the ephedrine nasal drops 3 days before the WADA drugs, before WADA officials arrived to take, urine samples. So it contained trace amounts of oxyliferin, which is not a legalized drug in the United States, but it is in the UK, and that's the big demarcation here. It is a stimulant, an amphetamine stimulant, in what's section 66 of the prohibited list, and in no way does it lead to any sort of anabolic muscle building power generation, as Victor Conte implied, which is totally false. No stimulant does. Saunders was suffering with a cold or a flu, simply took nasal drops to open up his passages so that he could breathe, so that he could fucking train. And that constitutes opening up the passageways, taking vast amounts of hemoglobin filled oxygen to his muscles so he could lose 30-40 pounds. What an absolute load of fucking rubbish. And to all you gullible YouTubers and uploaders who merely believe anything that Victor Conte has to spew, without even doing any sort of research or having any sort of natural sort of intelligence to come up with your own suppositions. Saunders has been 100% screwed over. It doesn't matter that he voluntarily gave up the belt before the formal investigation would have begun, because what's the point? You know, WADA wasn't going to make any sort of, autonomous decision. So it came down to Massachusetts. You know, WADA said that if they wouldn't grant him a license, then the WBO would then strip the title off him. So that was all a load of nonsense. Massachusetts has absolutely no credibility whatsoever, nor does WADA. So disgusted.